Good day to one and all present here. Today I Today my group and I will be presenting the play Mother's Day with Yasha as Mrs. Pearson, Meghraj as Mrs. Fitzgerald, Anurag as George, Vanshika as Doris, Arryan as Cyril, and myself as the narrator. Scene: the living room of the Pearson family. Afternoon. It is a comfortably furnished, much lived-in room in a small suburban semi-detached villa. When the curtain rises, it is an afternoon in early autumn. Mrs. Pearson at right and Mrs. Fitzgerald at left are sitting opposite each other at the small table, on which are two teacups and saucers and the cards with which Mrs. Fitzgerald has been telling Mrs. Pearson's fortune. Mrs. Pearson is a pleasant but worried-looking woman in her forties. Mrs. Fitzgerald is older, heavier, and a strong and sinister personality. She is smoking.
And that's all I can tell you, Mrs. Pearson. Could be a good fortune, could be a bad one. All depends on yourself now.
Yes, thank you, Mrs. Fitzgerald. It's wonderful having a real fortune teller living next door. Did you learn that out east too?
I did. But will you make up your mind now, dear? Put your foot down once and for all, and be the mistress of your own house and the boss of your own family.
That's easier said than done. Besides, I'm so fond of them even if they're so thoughtless and selfish. They don't mean to be.
Maybe not, but it would be better for them if they learn to treat you properly.
Yes, I suppose in a way.
Who's the better for being spoiled, grown man, lad, or girl? Nobody. It's the ruin of them as well as you. Husbands, sons, daughters should be taking notice of wives and mothers, not giving them orders and treating them like dirt.
I keep dropping a hint.
Hint, it's more than hints your family needs, Mrs. Pearson.
I suppose it is, but I do hate any unpleasantness. Oh, good gracious, look at the time. Nothing ready and they'll be home any minute and probably all in a hurry to go out again.
As she is about to rise, Mrs. Fitzgerald reaches out across the table and pulls her down.
Let them wait or look after themselves for once. This is where your foot goes down. Start now.
Mrs. Fitzgerald, I know you mean well. In fact, I agree with you, but I just can't and it's no use you trying to make me.
Then let me do it.
Oh no, thank you very much, Mrs. Fitzgerald, but that wouldn't do at all. They'll resent it at once and wouldn't listen.
You didn't get my idea.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you asked me to let you do it.
I did, but not as me, as you.
But I don't understand.
We change places, or really bodies. You look like me, I look like you.
But that's impossible.
How do you know it? Ever tried it?
No, of course not.
I have. Give me your hands, dear.
Well, I don't know. Is it right?
It's your only chance. Now look at me. Arstatadam, Arstatalam, Arstatalam Dambuna.
After the spell has been spoken, both women, still grasping hands, grow lax, as if the life were out of them. They both come to life, but with the personality of the other. So now Mrs. Pearson is bold and dominating, and Mrs. Fitzgerald is nervous and fluttered.
See what I mean, dear? Here, you don't want that.
Mrs. Fitzgerald, now with Mrs. Pearson's personality, looks down at herself and sees that her body has changed and gives a scream of fright.
Oh, it's happened.
Of course it's happened.
But whatever shall I do, Mrs. Fitzgerald? George and the children can't see me like this.
They aren't going to. That's the point. They'll have me to deal with. Only they won't know it.
But what am I going to do?
Go into my house for a bit. There's nobody there.
Yes, I suppose that's best.
Mrs. Fitzgerald gets up and exits. Doris Pearson comes in.
Mom, you will have to iron my yellow silk. I must wear it tonight. And what are you doing?
Mrs. Pearson now uses her ordinary voice, but her manner is not fluttering and apologetic, but cool and incisive.
What do you think I'm doing? Whitewashing the ceiling?
But you are smoking.
That's right, dear. No law against it, is there?
But I thought you didn't smoke.
Then you thought wrong.
Are we having a tea in the kitchen?
Have it where you like, dear.
Do you mean it isn't ready?
Yours isn't. I've had all I want.
Mom, what's the matter with you?
Don't be silly.
It's not me that's being silly, and I must say, it's a bit much when I have been working hard all day and you can't even bother to get me my tea ready. Did you hear what I said about my yellow silk?
Want it iron? What do you think it's going to do? Iron itself?
No, you are going to iron it for me. You always do.
Well, this time I don't. And don't talk rubbish to me about working hard. I've got a good idea how much you do, Doris Pearson. I put in twice the hours you do and get no wages nor thanks for it. Why are you going to wear your yellow silk anyway? Where are you going?
Out with Charlie Spence.
Can't you find anybody better? I wouldn't be seen dead with Charlie Spence, buck teeth and half-witted.
He isn't.
When I was your age, I'd have found somebody better than Charlie Spence or given myself up as a bad job.
Oh, shut up.
Doris exits. Mrs. Pearson circles and begins putting the cards together. After a moment, Cyril Pearson comes in.
Hello, ma'am. Tea ready?
No,
Why not?
just a change.
Well, snap out of it, ma, and get cracking. Haven't too much time?
Cyril is about to go when Mrs. Pearson voice texts him.
I have plenty of time.
That's nice way to talk. What would happen if we talk like that?
You all do talk like that. If there's something at home you don't want to do, you don't do it. Now all that's happened is that I've joined the movement.
I don't get this, ma'am. What's going on?
Changes.
Doris comes in. She is in the process of dressing and is now wearing a different jacket or sweater. She looks pale and red-eyed.
You look terrible. I wouldn't wear that face even for Charlie Spence.
If I do look terrible, it's your fault. You made me cry.
Have we any stout left? I can't remember.
Bottle or two, I think. What for?
To drink, you clot.
Mrs. Pearson gets up and exits. Instantly, Cyril and Doris are in a huddle, close together at left center, rapidly whispering.
Has she been like that with you too?
Yes, no tea ready. Couldn't care less.
Well, I'm glad it both of us. I thought I had done something wrong. Well, she is suddenly all different, and that's what made me cry. It wasn't what she said, but the way she said it and the way she looked.
Haven't noticed that. She looks just the same to me.
She doesn't to me. Do you think she could have hit her head or something?
Sounds far-fetched.
Mrs. Pearson comes in, carrying a bottle of stout and a half-filled glass.
Must grab something to eat. Looks as if I'll need to keep my send up.
Mummy, you don't mean you're not going to do anything on Saturday and Sunday?
No, I wouldn't go that far. I might make a bed or two and do a bit of a cooking as a favor, which means, of course, I'll have to be asked very nicely and thanked for everything and generally made a fuss of. But any of you 40-hour-a-weekers who expect to be waited on hand and foot on Saturday and Sunday with no thanks for it are in for a nasty disappointment. Might even go off for the weekend, perhaps.
But where would you go? And who would you go with?
That's my business. You don't ask me where you should go and who you should go with, do you?
That's different.
The only difference is that I'm a lot older and better able to myself. So it's you who should do the asking.
Oh, this is awful.
Stop blubbering. You're not a baby. If you're old enough to go out with Charlie Spence, you're old enough to behave properly. Now stop it.
George Pearson comes in. He is about 50, fundamentally decent but solemn, self-important, composed. He notices Doris's tears.
Hello, what's this? Can't be anything to cry about.
You will see.
Doris exits with a sob or two. George stares after her a moment, then looks at Mrs. Pearson. George notices the stout that Mrs. Pearson raises for another sip. His eyes almost bulge.
Stout?
Yes,
What are you drinking stout for?
because I fancied some.
At this time of the day?
Yes, what's wrong with it at this time of the day?
Nothing, I suppose, Annie, but I've never seen you do it before.
Well, you're seeing me now.
Yes, and I don't like it. It doesn't look right. I'm surprised at you. I don't like surprises. I'm all for a steady going on. You ought to know that by this time. By the way, I forgot to tell you this morning. I wouldn't want any tea. Special snooker match night at the club tonight.
That's alright, there isn't any.
You mean you didn't get any ready?
Yes, and a good thing too, as it's turned out.
That's all very well, but suppose I wanted some.
My goodness, listen to the man, annoyed because I don't get a tea for him that he doesn't even want. Ever tried that at the club?
Tried what at the club?
Going up to the bar and telling them you don't want a glass of beer, but you're annoyed because they haven't already poured it out. Try that on them and see what you get.
I don't know what you're talking about.
They laugh at you even more than they do now.
Laugh at me? They don't laugh at me.
Of course they do. You're one of the standing jokes. They call you Pompey Ompy Pearson because they think you're so slow and pompous.
Never.
It's always beaten me why you should want to spend so much time at a place where they're always laughing at you, leaving your wife at home instead of going out with her. Who doesn't make you look a fool?
George exits. There is a sharp, hurried knocking heard off left.
Might be for me, I'll see. It's Miss Fitzgerald. You don't want here to do you?
Certainly I do. Ask her in. Come in, Mrs. Fitzgerald.
I just wondered if everything's all right.
No, it isn't.
Of course it is. You be quiet.
Oh no, surely.
Now, Mrs. Fitzgerald, just let me manage my family in my own way, please.
Yes, but... Oh dear, what's happening?
Nothing much. Just putting them in their places, that's all. Doing what you ought to have done long since.
Oh dear, I wish you hadn't, Mrs. Fitzgerald.
Nonsense. Doing them all a world of good. And they'll be eating out of your hand soon, you'll see.
I don't think I want them eating out of my hand.
Well, whatever you want, they'll be doing it. All three of them. Mark my words, Mrs. Pearson.
That's right. Make us look silly in front of the neighbors. Poor Doris has been crying her eyes out, getting the neighbors in to see the fun. All right, let her hear it. What's the matter with you?
If you shout at me again like that, George Pearson, I'll slap your big, fat, silly face.
Oh no, please, Mrs. Fitzgerald.
Either I'm off my chump or you two are. How do you mean no, please, Mrs. Fitzgerald? You're Mrs. Fitzgerald, so why are you telling yourself to stop when you're not doing anything? Tell her to stop, then there would be some sense in it.
Doris enters left slowly, looking miserable. She is still wearing the wrap. Mrs. Pearson sits on the settee.
Hello, Doris, dear.
Hello, Mrs. Fitzgerald.
I thought you were going out with Charlie Spence tonight.
What's that to do with you?
Stop that.
No, it's all right.
No, it isn't all right. I won't have a daughter of mine talking to anybody like that. Now answer Mrs. Fitzgerald properly, Doris, or go upstairs again.
I was going out with Charlie Spence tonight, but now I have called it off.
Why have you?
Because, if you must know, my mother has been going on and making me feel miserable.
Oh, you shouldn't have said that.
Mrs. Fitzgerald, I'll manage my family, you manage yours.
That's enough. Quite enough. Now listen, you two. I want to have a private little talk with Mrs. Pearson. So I'll be obliged if you leave us alone for a few minutes.
I'm glad somebody can, 'cause I can't. Come on, Doris.
George and Doris exit.
Mrs. Fitzgerald, we must change back now. We really must.
Why?
Because this has gone far enough. I can see they're all miserable, and I can't bear it.
A bit more of the same would do him good.
No, I can't stand any more of it. We must change back.
Well, if you insist. Quiet now, relax.
She stretches her hands across the table eagerly. Mrs. Pearson takes them. They both close their eyes. Mrs. Pearson and Mrs. Fitzgerald stare at each other, muttering exactly as before.
Arshtattalam, Arshtattalam dam bona.
They carry out the same action as before, going lax and then coming to life. But this time, of course, they become their proper personalities.
Now listen, Mrs. Pearson. Don't go soft again, else it'll all have been wasted.
I'll try not to, Mrs. Fitzgerald.
Don't you start any explaining or apologizing, or you're done for.
It's all right for you, Mrs. Fitzgerald. After all, they aren't your husband and your children.
Now you listen to me. I'm warning you, dear. Just give him a look, a tone of voice now and again to suggest you might be tough with him if you wanted to be. And it ought to work.
Yes.
But remember, keep firm. Hoy, you can come in now. And off to enjoy yourself.
The family looks anxiously at Mrs. Pearson, who smiles, much relieved. They smile back at her.
Yes, mother.
Seeing that you don't want to go out, I tell you what I thought we'd do.
Remember,
No objections, I hope?
No, mother, whatever you say.
I thought we'd have a nice family game of rummy, and then you children could get the supper ready while I have a talk with your father.
Suits me. What about you two?
Yes, that's all right. Well,
What? Speak up.
Oh, I think it would be lovely.
Goodbye, Mrs. Fitzgerald. Come again soon.
yes, dear. Night all. Have a nice time.
Mrs. Fitzgerald exits left, and the family cluster around Mother as the curtain falls.